Electronic flight bags, or EFBs. It seems everyone's using them these days, but which one should you use? I've been testing two of the most popular EFBs here in Australia, and we're about to find out in a special version of Ask the Pilot. It's OzRunways versus AvPlan EFB. Fight! So for the last few weeks, I've been testing both AvPlan EFB and OzRunways, and I've been looking at 7 key aspects ranging from the installation and the setup, all the way through to things like the moving map and sharing data. So whilst you can use both of these tools for VFR and IFR, and you can use them as a flight planning tool and as a moving map in the aircraft, I'm just going to focus on VFR flying and using both AvPlan EFB and OzRunways as a flight planning tool only. Now let's start off with installation. Now I'm using an iPad mini, and both apps are available in the App Store. They're quite easy to find and download. Installation of OzRunways only took a couple of minutes and I was up and running really quickly. My only issue with AvPlan is I had to go through a bit of troubleshooting after installing it. The first time I installed it, I don't think some of the databases synced correctly, so none of my waypoints were lining up. I closed the app, opened it up again, logged out, logged in, tried quite a few things, but eventually I had to completely uninstall the app. So it's a little bit frustrating, and it took a little bit longer than I would have hoped to install the application, but eventually once I was up and running, everything was pretty reliable from then. So in terms of installation, just because it was easier to get up and running in one go, OzRunways wins that one. Now in terms of pricing, there's a fair difference between the two. You can basically buy the standard VFR package and then add on IFR. You can add on a Pro package with AvPlan. But if you want the base VFR package, it's $99 per year for OzRunways, and it's $99 per year as well for AvPlan EFB. So both are the same for the standard VFR package. But if you want everything, if you want the full pack, then OzRunways, the premium version, will be $169 a year, and the full version, so the VFR, IFR and Pro package for AvPlan, is $219 a year. So there's $50 difference between the two. So because you can get the full package for $50 cheaper, even though the features list is slightly different, OzRunways has to win this one. Now the layout and the user interface between the two are actually quite similar. Both have got a tab bar across the bottom. The moving maps are quite similar. So I'm not going to go into any really tiny differences, but there's one main difference between the two applications. So in OzRunways, to go between the flight plan and the map, it's pretty simple. You just click on the flight plan icon at the top. You can go to flight plan, click on exit, and you can go back to your map. Now AvPlan have put in this split screen function, so you can actually use this bar to pull down to see your flight plan or to pull it up to see your map. Now, to be honest, in AvPlan, I wasn't really using that feature very much. If I wanted to get the map up, I'd actually just tap that icon to make the map go full screen, because I think in map mode, you want to take up as much of the screen as you can. And then when I did want to go back to the flight plan, I'd just tap that. You can see it's a little bit fiddly, and just drag that down that way. And so because the operation of the two is so similar and the layout is so similar, and I'm not sure about that split screen function, this one's a tie. Now when planning a flight, both apps operate in a very similar way. They both allow you to type in a series of waypoints that will create a flight plan automatically for you, which will then appear on the moving map. So as a quick example flight plan, if we wanted to go from Moorabbin, say, to Avalon, you just type in your waypoints, Moorabbin, Avalon, hit return, hit done, then your flight path appears here on the map, and then it's really easy just to drag the flight path. So if you want to go around the bay, for example, we can go via Martha Point, and we can come via the Port C, and then to view your flight plan in OzRunways, you just tap the button at the top here and your flight plan appears. AvPlan's pretty much the same. Click on new plan, type in your waypoints in the box. So we go Moorabbin, Avalon, hit return. It gives us the flight path, and then within here, we can just drag to certain waypoints and Port C. Now in OzRunways, to edit your flight plan, you just click on edit. If you want to add a waypoint, you click on the green plus to add a waypoint. If you want to delete a waypoint, it's a little bit fiddlier. Click on the delete, click on delete, that goes. Then once you click on exit, then you can see that waypoint's been deleted for you. In AvPlan with the split screen, you can just pull the split screen down. You can click on the waypoint that you want to delete, hold it down, click on delete, and then you can see, if we go back to the map, then that waypoint's gone. Now in terms of flight planning, yeah, it's a difficult one. They're very similar, so I think again, this one has to be a draw. Now, one really important thing you want to do with these apps is to be able to share or print information from within the app. And there's actually quite a big difference between the way the two work. Now, the printing and sharing function in AvPlan EFB is really powerful. You just pull up whichever flight plan you want to work on. You go to this print send function, and then it will give you all the options of the documents that you can print or send to your email. So you've got the flight plan itself, we've got the weather for Area 30, any charts that you might want. We've got Moorabbin charts. You can turn off the ones that you don't want. And once you've decided on all the documents you want to share, you just click on the share button, go to email, and AvPlan will actually put them all together into one PDF for you, which you can then send to the printer and print off in one go. Brilliant function. I really love this, very powerful. Now, OzRunways is a little bit different, and you can't share as much in one go. So if you want to share your flight plan, you can go up to your flight plan page, hit the print button, and you can just expand up, which produces this PDF that you can then send to print or send to your email. But you don't get all your charts in one place, you don't get the weather in one place. So whilst you can still print and share the same information, it's far, far easier to do in AvPlan EFB. And because of all that, because AvPlan EFB is just so good at sharing and printing and having all the charts and everything in one place, it wins this round hands down. Lots of ticks. Now, both apps as well allow you to access your AIP, the Aeronautical Information Publication Package. Documentation, pretty similar between the two. Look, just a tiny thing, OzRunways probably has a better navigation through the documents than AvPlan. I found it a bit easier to get around, but look, it's just a tiny thing. So again, this one, very similar, has to be a draw. And finally, looking at the moving map itself, we've already looked at the layout, but the map when you're in the air and it's following you along, remember, of course, you can't use this as a primary means of navigation, but just as a backup, having that moving map in the cockpit, look, both worked pretty much exactly the same way. The one thing I really do like is some of the overlays that you can put on for the weather. Now, another disclaimer, of course, even with the weather overlays, remember those are delayed, so don't use them as a primary source of navigating around thunderstorm cells or bad weather. But OzRunways did recently introduce a new update to their app called Windy TV, which allows you to put an overlay on top of your moving map with wind speed and direction. It's really useful. It's also got forecast as well, so if you've got a flight coming up in the future, you can get a rough idea of what you think the winds might be doing. So just because of that, I mean, they're very similar, but OzRunways just seems to have a few more features in terms of the moving map. So just by a whisker, they win this one. So those were the things that I looked at when I was reviewing both of the applications. Now, if I have to pick a winner between the two, this is really hard. I mean, I don't want to sit on the fence. I do want to give a recommendation, but both are really good. Both pretty much do everything that you need them to do. But if I have to pick one, and this is just my recommendation, my personal favorite out of the two was OzRunways. And it's mainly because I just found the interface a lot easier to use. And I just think in those situations when you want to knock out a flight plan quickly, it's just a little bit easier to get around. And so for that reason, my pick is OzRunways. Now, don't just take my word for it. Both apps actually allow you to do a free trial download. I think it's 30 days for both apps. So what I'd recommend is download them to your tablet or your smartphone and try them side by side. Now, I hope you found that helpful. Thanks as always for watching. If you haven't already, do subscribe to the channel. There's a new pilot and travel video coming out on this channel every week. Thanks as always for watching though, and I'll catch you again soon.